This podcast explores graphic and disturbing stories and includes strong language. It therefore may not be suitable for our younger audience members or others who may find it disturbing.
In 2001, Life Recovery Ministries Incorporated, a faith-based, non-denominational counseling charity, was founded by Dana Hepworth. Dana Hepworth is an ordained minister, and as a licensed addiction counselor, he saw the need to help the victims of abuse from alcohol and drugs. Dana then opened the doors for single moms and their children who had been victims of various types of abuses such as physical beatings, sexual abuse, emotional, physical abandonment, and dozens of other abuses and tortures. However, in 2006, Pastor Dana was asked to sign the White Papers, a request by Carol Stanhope, a victim, but most of all a great activist, to stop the ritual abuse and torture of women and children, and to make satanic ritual abuse a war crime, and those committing tortures on children and adults to be held accountable. Given to the UN that year, they did not do anything to help stop satanic ritual abuse. That was years ago, and since that time, Pastor Dana has seen hundreds of victims that have been abused by satanic ritual abuse and many other types of abuse, many committed by family members. The series of video sessions was requested by the Life Recovery Ministries Women's Abuse Healing Group to share their experiences, their strength, their hope, and their healing with you. So please understand the purpose of these sessions, and the ones that follow will be focused on helping the victims of satanic ritual abuse. And that means you find the healing and hope that you so desperately seek. Here you will find personalized freedom from the abuses and tortures that have happened to you. We want you to know that we believe you and we can help you here at Life Recovery Ministries. Any financial situation will not keep you from receiving help.
It has been a few months since I started my journey towards my freedom from the mental, physical, and emotional trauma caused by repeated satanic ritual abuse, sexual abuse, mental and physical torture, and emotional abuse. All of these abuses combined have kept my mind, body, and soul in a state of imprisonment. All of these abuses allowing various demonics to influence all aspects of my life. I have lived with severe anxiety, agoraphobia, depression, relationship deficiencies, and a host of physical infirmities. During my time here at Life Recovery Ministries, I have found the chains that bind me loosening. I feel lighter, and I can see a glimmer of hope. I don't know how long it will take to undo all of the lies that have been told to me through demonic influence, but I do know that I feel so much relief and now calm as I enter Pastor Dana Hepworth's office for another session of spiritual warfare that I know will be difficult, but so worth every minute of the battle. I am healing. I have some hope, and I know that this is going to be the key to my freedom. Again, let me introduce you to Pastor Dana Hepworth.
Hello, and welcome back to Life Recovery Ministries. So today I'm going to continue to educate you on the white papers. I'm not going to use a teleprompter because after the first two podcasts, I'm just not very good at it. And I like to speak from my heart. I want you to hear my heart. So I'm just going to go with it, and I know you'll understand it. But I want to get into these white pages that was written and why they were written and what's happening now. So the white pages were presented to me in 2006, as I said before. And what it was designed to do, I'm going to read to you, because this is written by Jeannie Sarson, and she's a nurse, and Lynn McDonald. They've been at this 28 years, and that was 20 years ago or so, almost. So I want you to know that they've done an excellent job as activists, and I'm honored to use some of their work here to help you understand about satanic ritual abuse, what it is and what it isn't, and whether it could be in your neighborhood, as it was in mine, and still in mine out in West Palm Beach, out west. So some of our clients have come from that particular environment, and we'll talk about them later. So I want to talk to you about the purpose of this paper, right from Jeannie and Linda's heart. So it is to promote, as briefly and caringly as possible, an understanding of the reality of the specific group of oppressed, marginalized, and ignored girl or boy, infant, toddler, child, and youth, who as adults identified they were born into a ritual abuse, torture family group, or became victims when the guardians entrusted with your care, they became ritual abuse torturers or were, and nobody knew it. And the second one is to promote the understanding that the girl child who has grown and developed within a ritual abuse torture family in that group environment, she can remain captive and enslaved and exploited. She may become the princess of the occult. We're just not speaking about the occults here. And I want to tell you another area here that's really important, and it's not about specific occults and doing the torturing, because it says, and I've seen this right in the home, and it had nothing to do with any kind of satanic occult, but they were doing ritualistic tortures as well. So the lady said, this paper specifically refers to ritual abuse torturers who are parents, families, guardians, like-minded adults whose abuse, torture, and traffic children using organizing ritualism. They traffic these kids as well. And we'll talk about that later in some other broadcasts. So the captive girl child can and does remain captive, enslaved, abused, tortured, and be exploited. So their state of captivity is created and enforced by the organized family group violence that has been inflicted upon them. If you want to see a real good understanding of the captivity of a girl, Teresa's story on Satan's Children on YouTube has a young lady named Teresa. And that's a type, it's pretty much what I see, what she's been through as well. So, you know, the type of work we're doing over here in satanic ritual abuse just is not real popular out there in some areas. There's a lot of areas that there's the rooms full of people and they're shouting and doing this. That's not the way God works with me and works with the clients and the victims here. You know, God is smooth. When He's in it, it's smooth. It's right. You feel it. So I just want to talk about some of the things that we have seen here and working with. We see a lot of kids coming from orphanages. Some of the ones I wrote down right off my mind was Russia, Ukraine, Romania, Jamaica, Haiti. And some of these orphanages, you know, are set up that they actually have occults right in those orphanages, and they're using those kids. And a friend of mine who's a counselor, and she's really good for RAD victims, she sent me one girl that turned out to be a lot of family members involved, and they were really coming out of the orphanages. And they had tortures before then, but tortures in the orphanages and so on. So it's bad. And hopefully this education is going to stir you into helping in some way. I don't know. But I know that if you don't educate, it's hard to communicate on a specific topic. A lot of people don't like to talk about this. It's horrific. Let's talk about some of the stuff we've seen. Obviously, child abuse, right off the bat. Terrorization to keep victims silent and enslaved. We have one particular girl, especially, that if she told, her parents are going to die, and that's what they did. They will kill her pets, her rabbits, and all that around her to scare her. And the fear keeps them from talking, as it kept me from talking, and I'm sure it kept you from talking as well. Cruelty to animals, including bestiality. Well, I haven't seen too much of the bestiality, but I've seen a lot of cruelty to animals. And we spot that a lot in younger teenagers and younger kids. And, you know, putting sticks up cats and dogs' anuses, that type of stuff is what we catch them doing. So then we pretty much know there's something going on and we have to deal with it once they're caught doing that. Physical, sexualized, and mind-spirit torture. I'm going to talk about a little bit about the mind-spirit torture later and what it is, so I'm just going to kind of go past that. Necrophiliacism and pedophiliac necrophiliac. So it's inducing a death-like immobility in the infant to youth or adult victim by suffocating them into unconsciousness or over-drugging. I've seen that. You've heard that in different people with fetishes. They will do this death-like choke, and right before they pass out, that's when they would have their orgasm. It's supposed to make it, you know, if it's a 10, that makes it a 20. I don't see it, don't want to do it. But that we see it a lot now, and they'll do it to kids. When one little girl, they would do it to her, and right when they would pass out, then they would do some things to her body. And but she was just suffocating into the unconsciousness, and plus they overdrugged her as well. Violent ritualism. Now I see that a lot because it's happening in north of me, south of me, west, that I can identify right now. And what they're doing, those are occults. And basically they're having the bonfires, and then they're having group sex, that type of stuff. And if there's a victim involved, like a child, then they will do multiple rapes on that child, plus some other harming acts. So they will also try to enforce suicidal and self-harming acts onto their victims to ensure their silence. And that's when they would do some cutting on them, and they may do some cutting on their pets. As I said, anything to keep them scared, anything to keep you scared as well. So, enslavement and trafficking. Need to say no more about trafficking. Over 300,000 kids are missing. President Trump has found a lot. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And I'm so glad that he's in and working on this right now. And I know it's going to make a difference because he cares. And that's not whether Democrat or Republican, the man cares. And that's what's important to us that are working in this environment, either from being victims earlier in our life or we're trained to do this. So, you know, I've seen the girls that were raised in a cult home, satanic home, and they start messing with their minds early. And obviously, you know, I kind of talk street, and I'm not a psychologist. And so the main thing they will do is, I have an example of a girl that it was in the winter, and they would say, "We're leaving, go up and get your coat." She was about 8 years old. So when she go up, she'd bring her coat down. Then they'd say, "Why do you have your coat?" And she said, "Well, you told me to go get it." I said, "No, we didn't." And so then she'd go back up, put it away, and come back down. They'd say, "Where's your coat?" So that's how they kept getting the mind, and in a way that they can start using it to do what they need to do. And basically, the kid at that point, you got to get him out of there if you can. And that's where a lot of kids are right now. And we're talking even in some of these homes that you think are just really good homes, foster kids. It's going on all over the place. And again, it doesn't have to be just the occult. And most of it is not the occult, actually. But today, and what I'm doing right now is I'm focusing on a lot of the ritualisms, whether the cult, whether they're the church, or whatever. Okay, a couple more I just want to show you here. Now, we're going to talk about how they pick up some of the kids and families and so forth later. I have a good knowledge of that. But I want to talk about some of the abuses and tortures. Not in depth yet, but we're going to talk a little bit in an area so you understand them. And these are forms of relational abuses. For an example, verbal abuse, again, out of the white pages, means repeatedly called names, put down, bombarded with negative messages, such as being told they are stupid, bad, good for nothing. You don't have to be in a cult to hear that from your parents. Feeling non-existent happens when they are given the silent treatment, not talked to, not acknowledged, and that which delivers the message, you do not exist. So men, when you give your wives a silent treatment, you're telling them they don't exist. In their mind. Just a thought. But these names are directed at them with a demeaning voice, those tones, all forms of verbally abusive messages that can lead to emotional harm. We deal with a lot of that because we deal with a lot of adult children coming out of alcoholic homes and dysfunctional homes. Emotional abuses, and these are humiliations, shame, rejection, constant emotional messages of feeling you're unlovable, unwanted, undeserving, disregarded, useless, and a pile of crap. Surviving harmful child parenting practices meant having unreasonable demands made of them, such as being forced as a preschooler for extended periods of time to clean a bathtub with a toothbrush. They're constantly told you didn't do it good enough and being hit or kicked for failing. Psychological abuses. You can see how these all come together in an area. And you can see how Satan uses the lies. You're not good enough. You'll never be good enough. To really keep the victims trapped. And those are the lies that we get out of you with God's help through the Holy Spirit. So we're talking about psychological abuses, and that's aimed at distorting their belief system, values, attitudes. Well, if you're told you're not good enough and you're not allowed to talk to anybody about it, this keeps you isolated, and then you get contaminated. Okay, and contaminated means you're in that toxic environment the whole time. And this keeps victimized persons, which is you, the victim, under the perpetrator's control. Have you noticed that? Isolated, often without friends, captive, and you're the perfect victim. The abuser will separate you from anybody and everything if possible. He wants to isolate you. Okay, physical abuse is pretty obvious. Being hit, punched, shoved, kicked, or having their limbs twisted whenever the perpetrators feel like striking out. Sexualized abuses. I don't know any of these occults, or most of all, about 99% of the folks that come in here have been sexually abused, including me. And so it's always somewhere in there. And the horrific stories that you're probably going to hear later, some of them, we're not really into the big story thing. The one girl that's given somewhat of her testimony, so to speak, of her coming here in the first two podcasts, she's doing that because she wants you to know it's safe. And again, I keep saying that, but that's the most important thing, why we didn't get help. I was scared to talk. I go talk to my father, who's a minister, and I can guarantee you is going to be my fault for any type of sexual abuse. And that was 7 times. 7 times I was sexually abused. And 3 times by a friend of the family. So I'm going to go tell him that, Franklin, your buddy, has been sexually abusing me. I'm 4 and 5 years old. I didn't even know what it meant. I didn't know what he's doing at that time. But later I found out. We'll talk about that later in my story. But some of these sexualized abuses are going to be hard to hear, but they're all facts, and I've heard all of them, almost all of them. Meaning coping often daily with sexualized touching, oral, vaginal, penile, or anal rape, forced viewing, and being involved in pornography. That is a big one. And exposed to sexualized acts of others. They make the kid watch others have sex. And a lot of the times, the kids have to have sex with other kids. We're going to get into a little bit of that later. And they have to, even in the killing aspect, they have to maybe hurt their own children and so forth. But we'll get into that a little bit later. It can also mean being attacked at any time, day or night, especially on the weekends, holiday, and vacation times, which provides opportunity to keep an injured child or woman isolated from outsiders until they recover. They got to isolate you in order to keep the victimization up. And I'm going to tell you something to you pastors out there. It's not uncommon for the pastors that need to go on a vacation, maybe from a small to middle-sized church or any church really. Somebody comes up to you and says, look, Pastor, I know you and your wife need a vacation and, would like to watch your kids while you're gone. So you can take, the weekend, a few days, a week, whatever you like, and you can know your kids are perfectly safe. Pastor says, that's great. So him and his wife go off on a vacation for themselves. And in the meantime, guess what? Those are occult members. And they are in the churches. They call it the witch's brew in the pew. And that's what's happening. So those kids are sexually abused. They're told, if you tell your parents, we're going to kill them. We're going to kill you. And now they've even made it into the pastor's home. Amazing. Financial abuses. It feeds the perpetrator's greed, so as a victimized working use. Okay, so what it's saying is they're going to use that victim's salary. They're going to take away the credit cards. If you've grown up to the age of 13, you're going to start, I'll tell you this one now, they're going to start making you have babies, like in Teresa's story on YouTube. Okay, they are going to make you a breeder. And that's what they do. You breed one, they may use it in sacrifice, they may have you kill it. When I say you, I'm talking victims, not specifically you. But that's what happens when that girls start having their period and they are caught in that web with the Satanist. And if they put you out on the streets, obviously, they're going to pimp you. We had some kids that overseas, I'm not going to tell you where, that the grandma was a pimp, and she would put them, this is what the kids told me, they knew, at 2 years old, she would take them into the bars, and she would pimp them out, and so the guys, they put a paper bag over their heads and take them back. I'll just tell you, it was in Moscow. And so those kids at 2 years old were getting pimped on the street, taken in the back of a bar, putting a paper sack on their head, and God knows what else was happening to them at that time. That's the type of stuff that goes on daily, if not hourly, right now while we're talking. Spiritual abuses. I was a Pentecostal preacher's kid, not the so-called dramatic Pentecostals, but enough to give me the wrong idea about God, that he was a punishing God. I grew up with that. Why would I want to take my problems to a guy that's going to punish me, because that's what my dad would do. If I wanted to talk to my father, I had to go to the church office, maybe book an appointment a couple times to see him. And actually, I was booking an appointment to get my beaten for what I was going to talk to him about. So, spiritual abuses, when we're told that we have to do this or do that in order to make God happy, and Jesus Christ did this for us, so we can't do it. The best way to get past that stuff is have your own personal relationship with Jesus Christ and God the Father through the Holy Spirit. Nobody's going to tell you. They're not going to come up and say, God told me this to tell you. I tell them, well, when God tells me, then I'll give it. You see, I have a real good relationship now. I didn't. Some of I was an addict for 31 years until 1998. It's on the webpage. But after really finding out who God was, I just love him and Jesus so much. I just didn't know. And if I knew, there's a lot that would have changed in my life, but I didn't know. I was scared because that type of religion put fear in me. My God is not a God of fear. Fear is not available for him. So when I tell you this, I want you to know that healing is possible. You're looking at one. And there's several ladies out there now. Actually, I hear them coming to their group. So I'm going to knock it off here. And the last one would be exposure to family violence. It's a constant state which causes intense, overwhelming duress and increase the risk for further victimization. I can even say that for an alcoholic family. The violence is unreal in there. And that's what, I started out dealing with many, many years ago. So right now, I'm going to cut it there. We're going to keep going on. And we're into the fourth podcast. And so we're going to talk about a little bit deeper stuff, some of the tortures in some other areas and how they got their victims. And, we'll just see what goes from there. But thank you for tuning in. And I hope you enjoyed this area. I don't think I'm going to go back to the teleprompter anytime soon, even though it's easier in some ways, but it's just not me. I hope you understand that now. And God bless you. And please make that call. The contacts information is on there, and we're here waiting on you. And I guarantee you it's something that you've been waiting on. And you can't do it alone. You will not be able to do this alone. You have to have God the Father teaching you how to walk through this pain. You can't run around it. You can't go over it. You can't go under it. You have to go through it. But he will show you how and take you through it. He's been doing that here for 24 years. So, thank you.